In this episode of Mighty Car Mods, we have the still beating heart. It's not beating at all. We have the heart from Mr. VTEC, and today we're going to pull it down with some expert help and see if it works, if it worked, if it can work again, because my friend has got plans for it.
So the car was recycled. It's going to be turned into train wheels, which is a different kind of choo-choo than what we're going for. We're hoping we can build this thing for boost, but first we've got to find out what's wrong with this thing.
Welcome to another episode of Mighty Car Mods. Today we've got a very exciting one because we've got a special guest down here. This is Tony from VTEC, also known as the Heisenberg of all things mechanical. You may remember he helped us build our LS that went in our E30, and today he's down here to help us diagnose what is wrong with Mr. VTEC's engine and if we can rebuild it for boost.
Exactly. So Tony, here's an engine. What's the first few things you look at?
Well, I'd ask what the history is to start with.
We have no idea.
We bought it off Marketplace.
It's been a long time in the rain.
Good, okay, that's a good start. But I only take that on as a bit of background information. I start from the very beginning and try and work out what's going on from the beginning. First thing I would do is drop the oil and see what's in it, if anything. And obviously we're looking for metal or water. That'll give me a big clue on what's going on to start with it. And then the next thing would be, does it freely turn? You know, we go from there. Yeah.
What we do know is that the up here is wet, so there's lots of wetness and mud coming out of there. And some of the oil did come out yesterday, and it looked like a thick shake, like a caramel thick shake.
Okay.
So that straight away, I mean, is that a bad?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't tell me anything except that we've got water inside the crankcase. Now, if the plugs were out and it's out in the weather, even if this was just sitting in there and we've had water pooling here, water will get inside the cylinder. It'll find its way into the sump, and you'll get probably not the mix that you're talking about. The mix is through the engine running with water. Right. When water enters an engine that's just got oil in it, what tends to happen is the water will find its way to the bottom and completely be separate from the oil. It won't mix and make that thick shake sort of a colour. Okay. So when you drop the sump, take the sump plug out, what you'll find is you'll get almost pure water coming out first, and then the oil will come out after that. Yeah. But if it's run, it'll have that milky, thick shake type appearance.
So should we dump the oil first then?
Let's see what it is, yeah. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah.
Okay, cool, all right. If we get water out of here first and not oil, what's that going to tell us?
That's come in from being out in the weather.
And if we get green instead of oil?
That's not good, that means...
Oh, water!
Yeah.
Look at it!
Yeah, pure water.
Whoa, I've never seen that before. And are we going to get oil after this?
I mean, I wouldn't drink it, but you know, it is clear water.
I've never seen that before.
Yeah. And now if you wait, it'll be really thick and gluggy. But
really? Or it might not come out at all.
There might be nothing in there at all.
Maybe there's no oil in it.
Because that's right, we don't know the history. So
I'm a bit shocked. I didn't think it was just going to drop water and nothing else.
Yeah, Marty, here comes the milkshake.
Oh, it's coming?
It's coming, yeah.
Wait, let's put it in the bucket.
But very, very slowly.
Yeah, help get the head out.
Whoa.
Yeah, see there's
well,
parts of it coming out now? Yeah, that's that, and that's the oil above that. That's that sludge, see.
Jeez.
Oh my gosh.
How would you describe that, Blair?
How would you describe that? Have you ever been to Bali?
Something to do with food, you think?
Yeah. It's like Bali belly. You know, it can get anybody,
even engines.
And I've had a couple of nights that ended up looking like that. I can tell you.
Get rid of as much as we can now because it's just going to hang around when we invert the engine anyway and make a big mess inside.
So water came in from the top, mixed with the oil. It's separated because oil and water don't mix.
Well, yeah.
And then the water has gone to the bottom because the oil has floated on top.
Yeah. I mean, it will sort of semi-homogenise if the engine's running, and that's where you get that creamy appearance. So when I was young, there was another little test, you know. If you weren't sure you had water in your oil, there was a little test you could do called the crackle test. So you put a sample of the oil in a teaspoon and put a flame under it. And I think it was something like, if there's more than 4% water content, you'll get little bubbles forming and crackling in the teaspoon.
Yeah, okay.
It's a quick way to tell if you've got any water in your oil.
Yeah, right. Another way is just...
About 4%, yeah. Or more.
Here comes metal.
Oh no.
I think there was a hard chunk just came out. But other than this still is not giving us any indication of whether this is a healthy motor or not, is it? It's been out in the weather, but this is not telling us whether there's anything drastically wrong yet, is there?
I can't say yet. No, not yet. When you refer to that, you're talking about a catastrophic failure.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
We're going to remove the sump completely so we can get some better access so we can continue our investigations. We're also going to dissect the oil filter, which can hold many more clues as to what may have happened to this engine.
So, oil's coming into the outside of the filter. The idea of the corrugations is to maximise the surface area that the oil has to pass through, so reduce any clogging if there is any debris there. Now, if there's any metal, if we had a bearing failure in the engine, you'll see it here straight away.
Okay.
It'll be sucked up. The oil circulates quite highly through the engine per minute. You'll get lots of circulation going through, and it'll drop it all on these little corrugations. So all you do is pry it apart, and you're looking in here under bright light, like in sunlight's ideal, you'll see it straight away. And you're looking for basically a clear night sky. Sparkles everywhere.
Yeah.
And this one looks pretty good. So you can hardly see, I can't see any obvious metal in there at all. Looks fairly normal, just an oily bit of paper.
That's one good thing so far.
Yeah. But that's a simple diagnosis you can do if you think you've got a bearing failure, is have a look to see what the condition is like of the filter, because it'll pick it up there.
Great.
That looks good.
We're looking okay so far.
Yeah. As far as the bearing failure goes, yeah. Could be a lot of other things, but anyway, it's worth doing, because especially there are better tools to do it with.
Yeah.
Some engines have an insert; they don't have the cartridge, so you don't have to cut this off. You just remove it and you can see it straight away.
Yeah.
Look at it.
The engine still has things attached to it that need to be removed before we can fully strip it down. The turbo manifold and the intake manifold both need to come off, as well as the power steering pump and bracket. Some of the nuts and bolts are so thrashed they need encouragement with a hammer to get off, and then it can all go in the bin. Straight away we can see that cylinder 1 doesn't look good, and with everything out of the way, next we'll be able to remove the rocker cover and see what's going on underneath.
With many of the engine components now removed, it's time to get a professional's opinion of how we're looking.
This isn't looking good. This is not looking good. That's not looking good. That's not looking good. This isn't looking good. There's nothing here.
So as you've just heard from Tony, it's all looking really good, really promising. Is there any way of knowing if the engine ever ran like this? Is it possible that it did?
Yeah, it's possible, but a good clue, sometimes, not always, but a good clue is unscrew the oil filler cap. What will happen is that moisture and that sludge will come up there and it'll tend to condensate and sit up the top. And look under the cap and you'll see it, that milky, sort of a milkshakey look there.
That's clean.
That's right. So, it's not for sure, but there's a chance this didn't run with coolant in it because it didn't get hot enough to flow up to the top. Now, we'll know when we'll just pull this off now and we'll have a look up here as well.
Can I propose a theory of what I think might have happened? Just as a guess, like guessing a dyno number. I reckon someone's driven it, it's gone either ga-dink, or it's run out of coolant. It's popped a head gasket. It's filled up cylinder 1 full of water. It's hydro-locked, they couldn't start it. They pulled the plug out and went, oh, there's water, and then gave up. And it sat there for 10 years. Yeah, that's just what I reckon.
Yeah. Well, then you wouldn't see any of that like we've seen there. You wouldn't see any of that.
Further investigation required, because I'm really curious to see what's going on under here.
Is it time?
Yep. There you go. So there's not milky, it's not all creamy under here.
Yep.
So Marty, it's
maybe. I don't think it's run broken. I think it's probably stopped reasonably quickly and then sat forever. But it's got moss growing in it. Like
that's Kermit.
And the gasket's gone over the paint.
It's Kermit green.
How did the paint get through the gasket?
I don't know.
But no, that's not milky up here very much at all. I can't see any. You can see water. Look here, there's actually pure water there.
Yep.
And that's from being out in the weather mainly. So all that water and the water ingress we're seeing and in the inlet manifold there. But that exhaust port, number 1 exhaust port, had that crystalline coolant residue there.
Yes.
So, Marty, and the plug was out of number 1.
Yep.
So the suspicion so far is, yes, we've had a coolant leak into number 1 cylinder.
Right.
From blown head gasket.
Tony said, do not whiz these out with the DAC.
So,
which is what Marty was just attempting to do.
Trying to, but then it wouldn't actually do it because...
There's a reason. That's it.
That's all I got to do?
No. Loosen
More cracking.
Loosen it, yeah, until it's loose. So give it a quarter of a turn, half a turn.
Sometimes there's just a man who's got a bigger bar, you know what I mean, and knows how to use it.
No.
That's sometimes what happens. But if you put your foot on it, then it can't
Being
move.
more efficient, isn't it?
Well, I'm trying to grab stuff, but it's falling off the engine. There it goes. Sweet.
Do you ever get the realisation when there's someone who's a proper professional here that, like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about this lately, and it's just experience, isn't it? Like, there's a lot to be said for experience.
And
there's training,
actual IQ.
And there's that.
And actual IQ.
That's like to get in the club, but then once you're in the club, you've got to know how to dance. But you don't know how to dance the second you get to the club, usually. You've got to practice.
Outside in, right, Tony? So those two, then those two?
Yeah, work from the outer ends in, and always pull towards yourself whenever you've got anything tight you're trying to do. Don't try and push away. It's much safer to pull towards you.
Cool.
And keep your arms straight and just use your body weight.
So all the head bolts are out. Just to be able to lift it off. Oh, look at that. Full
Got
milkshake.
it. Got it.
Head gasket on there too. Be interesting. That might tell us what happened. But that is completely full of water. And I'd say they're probably factory pistons. And oh, look at that bore, Tony. Look at that.
Oh yeah,
The rust in it.
That's all that water that's coming through the inlet manifold. See, this cylinder, the valves have been closed on the inlet side. See how it's not as rusty?
There's a spider in there.
Well, he's come up through the exhaust, maybe. All through his spark plug hole.
See you, mate.
Okay, gasket, let's have a look.
Head gasket? No. So it might not have done a head gasket. Do we need to look at the valves? See if it's done something funny? Apparently, if you pour water down the valves, it will...
Pour some oil down the valves and let it sit overnight, Martin. Then this will all be fixed.
Here we go. Mr.
What a
VTEC,
mess.
what have you done?
That's just regret. Look at that.
Look at it.
Oh, what is going on?
It's sludge.
Yeah, just so much sludge, so much stuff in there. But I don't see obvious, like, engine damage, you know what I mean?
If we can wind the piston down a little bit further, we might be just to see the bore. If there's any obvious scoring, or damage in the bore, that'll give us an idea.
Completely seized, eh?
Yeah, so we're not going to be able to wind it much because of that. So what I tend to do is a little bit of Scotch pad and try and scratch all that crap out of the bore so we can try and move it a little bit.
I'm starting to get the feeling that I paid way too much for this car, and anything of any monetary value was too much.
Well, having a B16, you straight away go, well, that's worth a couple of grand. If it works.
Not like this.
Yeah, if it works, it's worth money. If it doesn't, you've got a block that maybe you can... Let's just cut to the chase. Is that salvageable?
Well, once we see how much pitting and the depth of this corrosion in the bore is, we'll get an idea, because this is typically you got a 9 sleeve inside that is cast. It's cast in there, and so it depends on how deep it is, how much, what oversized pistons we can get without having to go to a custom piston. Or if you want, what we've done recently is completely machine out these open deck cylinders, and we've fitted a thick wall Darton liner into some of them there.
So a sleeved block.
Yeah, proper sleeves. Those Darton liners are solid. They're solid stuff. And you can pump as much boost as you can into, and it won't worry it. Yeah, we've got some.
That's the Tony we know and love.
You've got to do it right. If you're going to do it and you're risking further failure, don't do it. Make it right so it doesn't fail the first time.
This is worse than I thought. Like, I expected we'd get it off. There's a bit of water in. Like, this is, especially cylinder 4, like that has rust like attached.
Actual chunks.
Permanently
chunks of rust.
You can't even get off with your finger.
Yeah, so that's going to be deep pitting there.
No, no.
Yeah, once you clean it up.
And so then at this point, being it's a B16 is quite common. There's lots of parts out there for them. There will be tons of oversized pistons, and people have done this a million times before. Do you then look at it and go, cool, well, an oversized piston will fix this? If you can get a nice...
Well, that's right. You can machine it first and see how much machining it takes to clean the bore up. If it takes too much and we're already gone over the maximum oversized piston, well, you've got to think about another option then.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
He's
bringing the bin to the engine.
He's categorising it.
Dude, this might be savable.
So, head gasket was intact and looking okay.
Yeah, so why'd it stop?
Why'd it stop in the first place? What do you reckon, Tony?
Well, we really can't get a good look at that number 1 bore because it's so badly corroded. If we can, once we free it up a little bit and maybe we'll get that rod and piston out, we might get a look at the bottom of the bore where the piston hasn't got any corrosion around it, and we'll see what's there on the wall. See if we picked up a skirt there and scored the bore. Yeah, plenty of that. Have you got a tub we can soak it in?
Yeah. penetrance. Free it up, free it up. If we can turn it, I mean, it'd be interesting, I guess. Curious to see a piston. But yeah, it answers my question. You never know with these show cars, all through the magazine articles, built bottom end, built this, built that, nah, swapped a stock motor, installed the build engine, and then sold the car.
Yeah.
That's probably what happened.
I'll have to really give it a jam. That might be enough anyway. That's down enough. So, same. There's no way around it.
Brilliant.
Yeah, well, if it wasn't out in the weather, it might be a different story. You know, it could have been a success.
Yeah.
But because of this water and it's gotten in, it's just damaged the balls.
It's just killed it, hey?
Well, it's made it more of an issue.
Ultra rare engine, try and save it.
Yeah,
Common engine, reasonably
Yeah.
common. Well, this is worth not much.
I think the right thing to do, because I said that we said we'd take the engine out. I said we'd pull it apart and then put it back in the car. So I think that's exactly what we should do.